The movie opens with a young guy named Riki-Oh gets arrested for murder and sentenced to 10 years in prison. With fair treatment, such a sentence might be tolerable. But in the future, all prisons have become privately owned. And that means inside their gloomy walls, wardens set their own twisted rules. These shady dudes use prisoners as their personal slaves, but they have no clue who just walked through their door. A bus filled with prisoners passes through heavily guarded checkpoints, heading to a maximum security facility. Like all other prisons in this futuristic world, it's owned by a private company. Among the new arrivals is Riki-Oh, sentenced to 10 years for assault and murder. Riki immediately shows defiance, ignoring orders and stepping straight through the metal detector. Alarms blare and guards rush him, thinking he's armed. But the X-ray reveals 5 bullets stuck inside his body. A guard offers help to remove them, but Riki casually tells him he'll keep them as souvenirs for a couple more years. The prison is divided into 4 sections: north, south, east, and west. Each block has a captain among the inmates who rules his area with permission from management. Together, they proudly call themselves the Gang of Four. One morning, Samuel, the right-hand man to the North Block's captain, is busy bullying and beating an elderly prisoner in the restroom. The old man is nearly done serving his sentence, but Samuel threatens he'll never get out early unless Samuel himself allows it. To make his point clear, Samuel smashes a small toy train that the old man has built lovingly as a gift for his son. Enraged and desperate, the old guy loses his cool and charges at Samuel holding a woodworking plane. Samuel quickly grabs the weapon and brutally strikes him across the face. Hearing the noise, a guard runs in, immediately siding with Samuel and his crew. Suddenly, Riki steps in, tripping Samuel so perfectly that the bully lands face first onto a plank filled with nails. Samuel's cronies nervously drag their injured boss away, too scared to confront this tough new inmate. Later, nursing his bandaged face, Samuel plots revenge. His buddies suggest hiring a musclehead thug named Zoro, who's been locked away in solitary confinement yet again for breaking rules. Samuel meets secretly with a corrupt guard, paying him off with his special inmate salary to speed up Zoro's release. The next day, guards corner the elderly prisoner again, coldly informing him his early release is denied. They falsely accuse him of secretly writing letters to his wife and kid without permission. He protests, calling them liars, but receives nothing, except punches, in return. Brokenhearted, he realizes he has nothing left to live for if he'll never see his family again. By nightfall, inmates find the old man hanging lifeless from a rope. Everyone whispers sadly about how unfair his imprisonment was. He'd only run someone over by accident while rushing his pregnant wife to the hospital. Riki overhears the prisoner's conversation and heads out into the prison yard to pay final respects. He shatters the chains holding the old man's body and carefully places the toy train, now perfectly repaired by his own hands, gently into the deceased man's grasp. The next morning, Riki and Samuel are showering when Zoro suddenly appears, blocking the doorway like an angry, oversized refrigerator. Without hesitation, the massive thug attacks Riki, delivering a bone-crushing punch that sends him flying across the room and slamming violently into the opposite wall. Riki stands up and meets the giant Zoro's next attack with superhuman force. His punch goes straight through Zoro's belly, making the big guy drop to the floor in agony. Samuel rushes in with a spike, stabbing through Riki's palm. But Riki doesn't even flinch. Instead, he calmly breaks Samuel's fingers and takes him out with a punch strong enough to make a shotgun jealous. Guards yell for Riki to surrender, but they're interrupted by Captain High of the North Block. High wants Riki and his crew, but Riki clearly isn't interested. They take Riki back to his cell, where he suddenly feels sharp pain in his chest. Riki breathes heavily and recalls a moment from his past, back when he was still a high school kid walking to visit his parents' grave. There, he met a mysterious stranger who turned out to be his uncle, Shang Kui, a kung fu master. Shang Kui challenged Riki to show his fighting skills, easily blocked the young man's furious attack, and decided to take him as a pupil. Ever since, Riki trained every day at the cemetery, mastering his chai energy to effortlessly smash huge rocks and endure powerful blows to his chest. Back in reality, Riki is led to the deputy warden, a nasty fellow known as Cyclops. This charming guy is busy stuffing his face with steak, using an iron hook replacing his left hand, and proudly sporting an artificial eye. Cyclops starts grilling Riki, asking why he killed a powerful gangster and what he'd been doing during the 2 years since leaving the orphanage. When Riki refuses to talk, Cyclops calls him over and shows him a letter from the outside. He cruelly hooks Riki's hand and punches him in the face, threatening Riki's girlfriend, whose picture was enclosed. This makes Riki lose his cool completely. He breaks the desk in half, throws a guard across the room, and leaps into action, deflecting a bullet midair with a metal tray. Riki pins Cyclops to a corner and almost kills him, stopping at the very last moment. Instead, he takes the photo back and leaves. In his cell, Riki takes out a flute and plays a tune, remembering happier times. A year earlier, he spent carefree days outdoors with his girlfriend Yen. The next morning, Samuel's minion, now left without his boss's protection, faces justice from prisoners he'd bullied. Captain Hai steps in, stopping the execution, but one man, Quan, angrily protests and openly challenges Hai's authority. For this defiance, Hai swiftly slashes his face with a blade. Before things escalate further, Cyclops grabs Quan with his hook. The deputy warden wants to teach Riki a lesson and hands Hai a knife, ordering him to handle it. Riki and Hai meet in the prison yard, where Hai has tied the injured Quan to a giant wooden cross. Hai sees himself in Riki, feeling regretful that he must fight him. Riki demands Quan's release before the fight, but the inmates warn Riki it's pointless. Once Hai shows off his tattoos, there's no stopping him. Sure enough, Hai hurls glass shards at Riki's eyes, temporarily blinding him. Riki, badly wounded in the arm, collapses onto the ground. Riki manages to rinse his eyes and regain his vision just as the other inmates rally behind him. In one swift move, he dodges Hai's knife attack and strikes, knocking out Hai's eye. Then, shocking everyone, Riki tightly wraps his injured arm to stop the bleeding. Hai, overwhelmed by defeat, makes one last attempt to fight back, but is stopped by Riki, who delivers a final powerful punch. Hai falls, defeated. After the fight, Riki pulls the massive wooden cross from the ground, but it's too late to save Quan. Furious inmates rise up in rebellion, charging at Cyclops. But the remaining 3 captains protect him. Everyone urges Riki to take revenge and eliminate the Gang of 4. But Riki doesn't want more bloodshed. Instead, he carries Quan's body away, refusing the path of vengeance. Cyclops, seeing an opportunity, offers Riki the position of North Block captain. But Riki's attention is drawn to Alan, Hai's godson, mourning his fallen father. Riki teaches him how to play music with a simple green leaf. But when Alan tries, he can't make a sound, because the captains had taken his tongue to keep him from revealing their secrets. Moved by the boy's pain, Riki gives him his own flute as a gift. In return, Alan offers him poppy leaves, a gift from the South Block captain. Riki is horrified. The captains are running an illegal opium plantation inside the prison. Meanwhile, the captains gather to discuss what to do about Alan, who has sided with Riki. In a cruel twist, they display Hai's body, claiming Riki had disrespected it. Then, they kill Alan and leave his body in the yard as a warning to future traitors. Devastated by Alan's death, Riki smashes the flute in anger. Cyclops is furious that the secret of the plantation has leaked, but by then, Riki is already torching the poppy fields, burning the Empire down. The South Block captain, Huang Chun, confronts Riki and attacks with deadly kung fu, landing a brutal blow straight to Riki's heart. Meanwhile, chaos erupts as inmates try to use the distraction to escape. Cyclops, panicking, hears that the prison director will be returning soon from vacation in Hawaii. He orders the activation of Plan Zero. Riki, lying on the ground and clutching his wound, recalls his master's teachings and finds strength to fight back. He rises and faces off against all 3 captains. One of them entangles Riki with knives attached to ropes, preparing to finish him. But Tazan, the brute of the group, steps in, claiming the kill for himself. Just as they argue over who gets the honor of killing Riki, the automated gun system, part of Plan Zero, activates, and bullets rain down from the walls. Everyone scrambles for cover. Tazan grabs Riki and drags him into a nearby room, but to their horror, the room starts filling with liquid cement. Riki manages to punch through the iron door, pulling the stunned captain to safety. Cyclops had planned to sacrifice Tazan, but now that the plans failed, he confronts Riki on the stairway. Riki is ready to expose Cyclops' illegal poppy plantation, but just as he moves to strike, the cement sets, locking Riki in place. Cyclops captures him, and the next day, the prison director arrives, stepping out of his car with his spoiled son Wang in tow. Wang, the kind of brat who thinks the world owes him everything, looks down on Cyclops like he's dirt under his feet. But karma doesn't waste time. Wang trips on the red carpet, and just like that, the director orders a prisoner to lose an eye for laying it poorly. Brutal. But that's how power trips roll in this place. The director then lays into Cyclops, furious over the chaos that unfolded during his absence, especially after learning that the opium plantation went up in flames. Cyclops tries to save face, presenting Riki as the one responsible. Riki stands shackled and encased in cement, from head to toe like some failed modern art sculpture. But when Riki spots the guests, he suddenly breaks free. In a flash, he grabs the director through the cell bars, vowing to punish him for his drug empire. Wang naturally panics and yells that Cyclops saved his father. Just then, Tarzan smashes through the wall like a living bulldozer, slamming Riki back and trapping him with bent iron bars. The beating begins, an entertaining spectacle for the director and his son. But Riki doesn't stay down for long. Breaking free again, he lands an uppercut that dislocates Tarzan's jaw, then follows up with a punch that crushes his enemy's fist. Tarzan collapses out cold. Riki stands firm, shouting that prisoners are not insects, they're people. But the director has other ideas. The cell's ceiling begins to descend, a slow, crushing death looming overhead. Riki resists with all his strength, holding up the heavy slab with pure willpower. But Cyclops has another card to play. He unleashes an electric shock that knocks Riki to the floor. It seems like the end until Tarzan, barely alive, sacrifices himself to save Riki. Riki breaks free, crashing through the iron bars, but when he tries to save Tarzan, it's too late. The ceiling crushes the giant man. Riki, consumed with rage and sorrow, reminds everyone that even Tarzan had people waiting for him outside, loved ones hoping for his freedom. But his speech is cut short when a trapdoor opens beneath his feet. Riki plunges down, shackled and chained, landing in a pit in the center of the prison yard. The director declares that for his rebellion, Riki will be buried alive as a warning to the rest.
荷里王搗亂國分監獄
Two prisoners try to protest, but they're shot on the spot. Guards them not to risk their lives for him. The director makes it clear. If Riki survives 7 days underground, he'll be freed. Cyclops thoughtfully sticks a hollow bamboo tube into the ground, giving Riki just enough air to suffer longer. As night falls, worry spreads among the inmates. But then, through the darkness, a faint, whistling melody drifts across the yard. Riki is still fighting. The two surviving captains try to silence Riki by plugging the bamboo tube with a piece of meat. But Riki, because he's a hardcore survivor, breaks the bamboo in half and uses the falling meat as his next meal. Starving and buried, Riki clings to memories of his lost love, Yen. In a painful flashback, Yen is seen walking home late one night. She stumbles upon men dealing and using opium. One of the gangsters spots her and abducts her. She manages to escape, but in her panic, slips from a rooftop and falls to her death. That tragedy fuels Riki's burning hatred for the drug trade. Consumed by vengeance, Riki tracked down the man responsible. The gangster shot him 5 times in the chest, but Riki didn't even flinch. He took down the man with one fatal strike, sealing his fate as both a hero and a convict. That's why Riki's behind bars. He chose revenge over justice. After 7 grueling days, despite storms and unimaginable torment, Riki is pulled from the grave, alive. He leaps down from the excavator, but there's no time to breathe. The captains attack immediately, eager to finish what the grave couldn't. The prisoners are done with the endless injustice and broken promises. They rise up in rebellion, but Riki ends up thrown back into the dungeon like some wild animal.